Suspended from Sunday School presents Bible Conversations, familiar Bible stories told from a perspective you've never heard in church. All right, buckle up. We're about to get into today's story.
Drama was a primary ingredient in the boiling cauldron that was Jacob's household. He had married two sisters who were combatants in an unrelenting battle to determine who was the primary wife. Jacob had fallen hard for the younger sister Rachel because of her stunning beauty. So much so that he worked for her father Laban for 7 years to earn the right to have her as his bride. But due to unforeseen circumstances, namely Laban's deceit, Jacob ended up hitched to Rachel's older sister Leah. Jacob liked Leah as a person. If he were trying to pawn her off on a buddy, he would have said she had a lovely personality. In other words, she was no beauty queen. Rachel, on the other hand, was so fine, Jacob agreed to work another 7 years for Laban to finally make her his own. Meanwhile, he was doing his husbandly duties with the sister he unintentionally married first. Leah came out of the gate strong, using what she had, her fertility, to get what she so desperately wanted. She proudly proclaimed, "Here he is, Jacob, the 6th boy I've given you. Surely now I'll finally be treated with honor. For that cause, I will name him Zebulun." Then Rachel chimed in, "Have all the babies you want, Leah. Jacob's heart belongs to me. Always has. Always will." Leah countered with a low blow of her own. "What good are you? Your womb is as useless as a ship without a sea to sail on." Rachel, who had been unable to conceive, was keeping hope alive. She looked Leah in the eye and said, "Look out for the crashing of waves. This ship is about to leave port and sail into the horizon." A year later, Rachel finally gave her husband the one thing she had been unable to present to him in all their years together, a baby boy. Jacob, who was tired of the game of one-upmanship between the sisters, thought this child would put an end to their competition. He said to Rachel, "You've got your boy. I knew we could do it. Now will you please knock it off with the bickering and catfighting between you and Leah? It's beyond tiresome." Rachel, worn down by hours of labor, said, "I have no dog left in this fight now that God has taken away my disgrace. But I'm naming this boy Joseph because I pray the Lord will add to me another son after this." Rachel should have left well enough alone. She conceived another child and carried him to term. But she died during childbirth. Joseph and Benjamin, the sons Rachel left behind, kept Jacob constantly reminded of the love and passion he had for her. Joseph, Rachel's firstborn, held a special place in Jacob's heart. Joseph could do no wrong in his father's eyes. A tangible symbol of Jacob's delight in his 11th son was the brightly colored, long-sleeve coat he had tailor-made for the boy. The gesture didn't escape the older half-brother's notice. That and other acts of favoritism had built up sibling rivalry as hostile as the Cold War between Leah and Rachel. To make domestic matters worse, Joseph began having vivid dreams that did nothing to squelch the envy and enmity his older brothers felt toward him. The first one he shared didn't win him any fans. He told them, "Check this out, we were out in the field, binding sheaves of grain, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brother Asher, who never bothered to hide his contempt for the boy, said, "And you wonder why the only friend you have is God. At school, you were voted most likely to refer to himself in the third person." A few days later, Joseph ran to his father, eager to tell Jacob about another one of his dreams. Dad, you gotta hear this one. This time, the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." Jacob, understanding the symbolism and seeing it as a perfect example of how Joseph had alienated himself from the rest of the family, gave the boy what he thought was a word of wisdom. "I love you dearly, son. But you need to get over yourself. That robe I had made for you as a token of my affection has gone to your head. A word of advice, check yourself before you wreck yourself." But what Jacob couldn't have known was that Joseph's I have a dream speeches were previews of coming attractions that would someday play out in the real world. An unstoppable force, the will of God, was already in motion. Joseph would soon be in the crosshairs of a plot to take him out. His brothers would sell him into slavery in Egypt. But their treachery was used by God in service of a larger plan to save the family and ensure that God kept the promise he'd made to Jacob's grandfather Abraham 2 centuries earlier.
That's all for today, folks. But be sure to tune in again for more of our Bible conversations. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We out.